Last week, we have learned about the first serious cyber attack that leveraged the American AI technology and infrastructure against the American government agencies and corporations. On November 13th, Anthropic, one of the leading AI platforms, issued a report about a Chinese government-sponsored engineering team that managed to convince Anthropic's Claude Code and apparently other agentic software hosted in the United States to bypass the system's guardrails in order to develop and execute malicious attacks against a few dozen US agencies and corporations at unprecedented speed and scale. My prediction: things are about to get worse. Thank you for listening and subscribing. I am Alex Chaduk and this is AGI. Listen every Monday morning on your favorite podcast platform. For quite some time now, Geoffrey Hinton, the Nobel Prize laureate and one of the godfathers of artificial intelligence, has been saying that we do not need to wait for artificial superintelligence for us to experience immediate AI-driven threats to stability and order in the democratic societies. The current level of development of the large language models, or LLMs, managed by the US companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, and X, allows to plan, implement, automate, and coordinate complex, highly autonomous software systems that are capable of damaging cyber attacks on systemically important institutions in the developed world. It still requires a minimum level of evil ingenuity to bypass the guardrails that the LLM developers are trying to introduce during the model's post-training, but writing a convincing prompt that the user is working for a respectable software security company, perhaps adding that children may get hurt if the LLM does not produce a hack as soon as possible, usually does the trick. Anthropic admits that they caught the attack not because of their high vigilance, but because the hackers were simply too lazy to review the code that Claude produced for obvious hallucinations. The hackers were also too sloppy. They could have made the attack less conspicuous by reducing the frequency of network requests, as it was the frequency, not the content, that triggered Anthropic's attention. I am pretty sure the hackers appreciated the feedback and will improve in the next iteration. Mind you, Anthropic is perhaps the most conscientious out of the bunch of the major AI players, so the fact that the others did not report similar subversive attacks does not mean that all is green. They might as well not pay attention at all. There are three reasons why I think the things will get worse. First, the breathless narratives that the AI industry leaders spin for their investors are more suitable for a close horse race than quality technology engineering. One particularly imbecilic one is that China is going to beat us in the AI race. Nobody even thinks to stop and ask, what exactly is this race in which the faster we go, the easier it becomes for China to attack our infrastructure? Nobody seems to be interested in these kind of questions, so by all calculations, our race towards an imminent disaster will accelerate. Second, the foundational AI companies will continue to ride the wave of "I am just the platform." Uber is not responsible for the actions of its drivers the way a taxi company is, even if, from the customer's perspective, what is it if it's not a taxi? If you run a social club in your town and you know a member or 10 you have invited are pedophiles, it is really a question of when, not if, you will get questions about it from the police. Not Facebook. It will say I'm just a platform even if it knows more about the guy than his mother. Same thing with the AI companies. We are just a platform removes any culpability and hence any motivation to do anything about a bad actor or even 1,000 of them except cancelling their accounts and letting them recreate those a minute later. We are, after all, just a platform. Finally, if I ever get Dario Amodei, the founder and CEO of Anthropic, on this podcast, I'm going to ask him about gun control. He is, in my estimation, one of the most liberal-minded big heads in the Silicon Valley, and I'm pretty sure about his sentiment on the standard NRA narrative that the cure for a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a bigger gun. It is ironic that the moral of this story for Anthropic is that the very abilities that allow Claude to be used in these attacks also make it crucial for cyber defense. Basically, a good guy with the same gun. The way that such thesis works out for the violent death statistics in the United States is directly applicable to what we should expect in cybersecurity. Modern AI is not yet clever enough to be extremely useful. Sadly, it is already useful enough to be extremely harmful. With this, until next Monday, my friends, I am Alex Chaduk, and this is AGI.